hear that the resources, the oil resources, is the reason why these three factions are fighting with each other. This is why they have a deep hatred of each other. That's why there's insurgents coming up. And because of this deep hatred, this insurgency grows. And what we are saying here is that just because you split them up through by regions, we are not going to solve the problem of how we can split equally among these three groups, the resources, the oil resources. And we are saying here that what the government said about how they'll solve it out eventually is not going to stand, because that is the main reason why they are fighting in the first place. And just because you are splitting these people up by their racial lines, it's not going to solve how they're going to distrust the other factions from taking more of their share of these resources. And that's why we're saying here that, no thank you, that this will, just by splitting them up, will not solve the distrust, will not solve the insurgency that's being caused by their unhappiness about how these resources are going to be split up. So, now second, yes sir.
Now consider the fact that pipelines run through all three areas, which means that when the Kurds mine the oil, which is basically around the area, they need to have amicable ties with both sides so we get a pipeline to the rest of the world.
We are saying here that the region where they take the oil is still we are saying here that there are still one region where there's the most resources where oil comes from, and just because there's pipes interlinked with all these regions, around this country, it's not going to solve the problem whereby they are going to prevent. They are going to just distrust the other faction. As going to say, no thank you, that the other faction is going to tap these pipelines more than they should, and that is going to cause the problem whereby the distrust just keeps continuing. Just because that we have the resources to spread this oil around doesn't mean that these people wouldn't take their own share. It's exactly because they distrust each other. That's why they're going to take more of their share to prevent the other faction from taking more of their share in the first, and this is going to make the situation, going to create a cycle which makes the situation worse. And just by splitting up is not the answer. We are saying here that we need a strong force. We need to put them together to prevent them from fighting against each other. We need just by splitting up them are not going to solve the problem. And no, thank you. So the second thing is so now let me get on to my point. I'm saying here that in the status quo, America is the one that's keeping these three factions together. America is the focal point. And how does it hold Iraq together? Through military aid, through developmental aid, and political support. And firstly, regarding military aid, we are saying first in the status quo, America is already withdrawing troops. And what if you're going to split this split Iraq into three regions? What's going to happen is that America will have now three capitals to protect. Or worse, what America is going to do is protect the region whereby America's interest is the highest, and America has the highest interest in the region. And what is this going to do is it's going to just leave the other regions by itself. In a moment, it's just going to leave the regions by itself. And what happens is that these regions are going to descend back into terrorism. The thing that Americans send its forces into Iraq, firstly to prevent, because why? Because they don't have a proper military to protect themselves. And therefore, as you said, without this proper military, you can't keep the peace. And extremist insurgency will spread, and that's how the problem will continue. Yes.
I think it's very funny that you brought up America, because when America went to Vietnam and South Korea, they also split up.
And the reason why they split up was because there was another intervening force called China, which split the region And that's why we are saying here that this example doesn't stand in this case. We are saying here that America here is the focal point. There's no China, there's no Iran trying to split the trying to split the country up.
Let me help you, sir.
Yes.
If back then it was okay they split, why is it not okay now that they split?
Okay, if you are talking about the example of Korea, North Korea and South Korea, we are saying here that the reason why they split was because of the ideological system of governing a country. It's not the same as here whereby these people agreed upon democracy and America is supporting that democracy. There's no other countries whereby they are coming in and saying that your democracy is not the way to do it, and therefore your POI doesn't stand. So as my first speaker actually pointed out, what happens when this peace can't be maintained? There will be division, there will be intervention by other countries, and this is going to make it worse. Firstly, you have Iran, you have Saudi Arabia. All these countries are Muslim countries, and what they are going to preach is that they are going to say that, hey, what you're trying to do is these troubles are not caused by your own countrymen. Sorry. What's going to happen is that without a proper military, you can't control the region, and when you can't control the region, terrorism will creep back into back to this country, and what America has tried to prevent will become worse, and therefore, because of these reasons, go with